Scream 7 comes out on February 27th. I will 100% be going to see it. And yeah, like I said, I do think this is the end of the franchise. Stu Macher will be back, I do believe. I mean, it has been confirmed, so I don't think there's any kind of questions there. I think the real question is, what's the twist going to be? And I think it's going to be a legacy character or someone very, very important to the plot that will be taken off the mask. Hot damn. Everybody's a suspect.
Is it really your most excited movie
I'm
of 2026?
so excited for this. I'm so excited for this. Did you see all the popcorn buckets that are coming out with it?
I have seen a couple of those. Those are pretty neat.
Did you see the one where it's actually the glass case with the Ghostface figure inside? That one's so sick.
That's awesome. But
yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited everything about this movie.
Okay. I hate to rain on your parade, Dave, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. Could this series or this franchise be considered a franchise that needs to die with how many movies they've come out with, spin-offs and all things like that? And I'm not trying to like say it is, because I just don't watch these movies. Do you think there's people out there's like, wow, there's another Scream 7? Like, get that out. You know what I mean? Has it lost any of the flair as like Star Wars has and Marvel has and definitely Fast and Furious has?
I don't honestly, I don't take offense to this at all.
Okay.
Right?
It was a genuine question.
Yeah, no, I honestly don't take offense to this at all, because I am the biggest component of like, you can take things too far. Chasing in space. You know what I mean? Like, there are franchises that I like that eventually, when you go so far down the rabbit hole, that it just kind of loses its luster. So I don't necessarily think that this is a franchise that needs to die. I think it's a franchise that has extended its shelf life past what most people thought it was going to be able to do. And I think if they do it right, which I think that they're going to do, I do think it ends right here at this movie. And I think this is kind of the perfect spot for them to do it. I think they've done a good enough job on the first 6 movies, and I think they'll do a good enough job on this movie where it makes sense that there's 7 movies. I will say, going back and, looking at it, 3 specifically sticks out to me as like maybe not the greatest movie in the franchise, but I think they kind of brought it back from that. And I think if it ends here at 7 the way that I think it's going to, I think it will have effectively run the course. It's given us enough without being too much. So personally, that's what I think. I like, but I'm an Uber fan, obviously. So I'm sure there's people out there that think like, yes, there's probably too many Scream movies. But I think if you look at the context of the movies themselves, I think they provided enough value. Like, we're not talking about Jason Goes to Space. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't gone so far down the rabbit hole that it doesn't make sense.
With this series, with Scream, again, I don't watch Scream. I don't think I've ever seen a Scream movie, to be honest.
Never.
It's always a continuation of the story?
Yes.
Wasn't the new one, if I'm not mistaken, like, there's a gap between when Sidney was there and then all of a sudden he's back again, like a good chunk of time?
There's not necessarily like huge lapses. I mean, the Scream franchise itself, it really is a fluid story from start to finish. Now, there's obviously gaps where certain characters aren't as prevalent as they once were. But in the grand scheme of things, like, it really does follow a very consecutive timeline, and all of the legacy characters maintain their timeline throughout the entire movie.
That's all I was wondering. I could just see like how, like you described, like how some people are probably off the bandwagon now and like they've moved on from it. And that's like all the franchises that we talk about that we're moved on from. So I was just curious if like you felt like it like deserves to keep going, or if it's gone too far. But the way you described it, this might be it for it, and it's a good spot for it. So that's good.
Yeah, I think they haven't taken it too far. I think if they end it right here the way that I believe that they're going to, I think this is a good spot for it to end. And I know what you're talking about, like with the kind of gaps and like weird kind of things. Like, this isn't a Halloween 3 situation where it's just like surprise, Michael Myers isn't in this movie, and then all of a sudden in 4 he comes back. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that type of situation. It does have a continuous flow and a continuous story, and like if you really go back and look at all the movies, each movie does really provide some type of value or insight into the story as a whole. So like I said, I think they did a great job extending this into 7 movies, but I do think, yeah, like 7 movies, this movie is the one where I feel like they should end it before fatigue sets in.
Was there a point that you had some fatigue? Let's say, like, was it 3? You're like, okay, what are they doing? Because you said that's not the best one. And then they bounce back with 4. Is there that kind of section where you're like, ooh, we overstayed, but, and then like what brought you back into it if it did that?
For me, it never... So for me, it lost its luster a little bit around 3. But the reason why, like, I give it a little bit of leeway is because the 3rd movie in the franchise is never the movie that we were intended to get.
Okay.
I think obviously 1 is a horror icon at this point. It really holds that same place to me as like Halloween, Friday the 13th. Like, it really has kind of earned that kind of spot for me. 2 was fantastic, and then 3 we were supposed to get a very different movie, but because of some of the events that happened in the real world around the time that this movie was being filmed and stuff like that, they kind of scrapped the original script from 3 because they thought it was like too real and too relevant to like some real world events that were really tragic. So that's, I can understand where that kind of need to come up with another script pretty quickly and like not being able to do your original idea. So you're just kind of like, that's where I kind of give it some leeway. But other than that, I don't really have any moments in the franchise where I'm like, and I'm not loving this right now.
That's good that this franchise has kept that for you. Should I roll the trailer and you want to kind of talk about what this one's going to turn into? And you know what we haven't had in a while? Dave's hypothesis. What's the word? Oh,
I got some bangers for this one.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and roll the trailer out.
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll the trailer. So if you guys haven't seen the trailer yet or know anything about the movie, very, very cool. The scene opens up. They're obviously back in Stu Macher's house.
I jumped.
Yeah. It appears that they have turned Stu Macher's house into some sort of like Airbnb kind of attraction where you're able to stay in the house. And then we're getting our obligatory first kill scene here. I think it looks really cool. I mean, it looks the way that it should look, especially for the trailer. Yeah, very cool, right? When she falls off there. But we're also getting our look. I mean, obviously Sidney is back. I think some very cool things in the trailer. Now, specifically, there's a lot of clues here, and I just want to throw this out here. I think the biggest thing being talked about here is this like idea that Stu, the original killer from the first movie, is coming back. And I've seen a lot of people talking about why they think that that's gonna happen, and like that's great, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, for me personally, like that has been confirmed. So in March of 2025, Matthew Lillard did 90s Con. I don't know if anybody saw this, where he actually announced that he is coming back for Scream 7. So like, Stu will be in this movie.
Skeet, you got to return for Scream 6, and now Matthew.
I come back as a fairy godmother. It's gonna slay. Am I coming back? I don't know. I'm not used to that question and actually having an answer.
Yeah, getting to answer.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've been asked literally 1,000 times a day since the first movie ended if I'm coming back. And I'm happy to report I am.
Now, in what context, we're not really sure yet, but like, I don't think that's any mystery. And if you kind of like go through the rest of the movies, you do really kind of get like a feel that this makes a lot of sense to bring Stu back. Specifically, like in like the second movie, like Randy says, like never assume that the killer is dead, or in the third movie, like Ghostface calls Sid saying like it's hard being friends with you, so like it makes sense that would be Stu. So like I think one of the big things is gonna be like Stu is coming back for this movie, and there's, like I said, there's a lot of clues in all of the movies that says that Stu is not dead. And we can honestly do like a 45-minute video about all of the clues that you can find in all the movies that says Stu is like alive and still like being the leader of these Ghostface. But I think what's really interesting is like that obviously is going to happen. But what's really interesting to me is like, because it's a Scream movie, there still needs to be a twist.
Right.
And like Stu coming back is not a twist. Like everybody knows, like that's been confirmed. And I just don't think that they're going to have a movie where they don't have that real aha moment, right? So like, what is the real aha moment of this franchise going to be? I think that's the real question.
Okay, can I have a theory that from never watching
never watching the movie? Yeah, go ahead.
What if Stu is coming back to kill this Ghostface?
Stu, what? Wait, you think Stu's coming back to be the good guy?
Not to be the good guy, but like take his reign back. Like, what are you doing, dude? Boom. Stu's gonna kill the current Ghostface to reclaim his title as Ghostface.
To reclaim his spot?
Or maybe he's gonna come back as a good guy and help win. I don't know. I think that could be a way out there. Never watched the series theory.
I mean, anything could be anything at this point, right?
Yeah.
But the real fan theory is like, so Stu, if you guys remember in the first movie, Stu was the killer, along with Billy, got the TV pushed on his head, right? But the idea behind this is that you never really see Stu die. And the idea has been that Stu has really been behind all of this from the first movie in a behind the scenes kind of fashion. They're calling him like a cult leader, right? So think of Stu as like the mentor of all of the other Ghostface to come after him. So that's the idea. And if you really think about that theory, I think it's a great theory. And I think there's a lot of evidence, like I said, that would kind of play to that theory in all of the movies. You know, like I said, Scream 4 and 5, like the quizzes in Scream 4 and 5, right? Like how does anybody know besides the original killers that the quiz was a thing? Because if you watch the first movie, Casey Becker, she gets quizzed in the very beginning of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. The only people that would know about that, Casey Becker, Billy Loomis, Stu Macher. Billy and Casey dead. Like they are dead. So the only three people that would know about the quizzes, right? So Stu knows about the quiz. That's how they start 4. That's how they start 5. Like there's so many different things in each of the movies that kind of lend you this idea that Stu's alive. But like I said, it really does need a twist. And I think the only place that they have to go is that the killer needs to be Stu, but it needs to have another killer. And I think that killer, in order for it to kind of wrap everything all together, and in order for it to give that like wow aha moment that Scream always delivers, I think it needs to be a legacy character or somebody very, very, very intricate into the plot line.
Sidney.
I was thinking Sidney, right? But like, I mean, it's a possible idea. So like it is possible that Sidney, but a few that I've come up with, right? What if it's Gail? Like, what if Gail is the one? Because if you think about in the beginning of Scream 1, she puts the camera underneath the TV. She has access to that room where Stu died. If that camera is still sitting there, she could have been the very first person to know that Stu never actually died in that room because she has it on camera seeing him get up, right? And think about Gail's career, guys. Gail is very, very motivated by these Woodsboro's murders. She writes about them. She reports on them. She was very into it for a very long time. So, like, in order to keep things going, she really does need this story to continue. So Gail is definitely like a total option. Another possible option I have. What if it's Randy?
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
In Scream 2, Randy dies. You see him get pulled into the van, right? What if Randy lives? Because we were talking about this again, where Stu is kind of like being part of all of this from the beginning, right? So you would have to assume that if Stu is like the cult leader of the Ghostface, he would want to get out there and kind of get his knife wet every once in a while, right? And I think when it comes to, you know, the kills of these legacy characters like Randy, like Dewey, he may want to be the one to do it. But we also know that Stu really had a soft spot for Randy. Like, they really were friends, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what if Stu got Randy, but somehow Randy survived and Stu got to him and kind of talked to him and kind of turned him a little bit? So, like, what if Randy, who died in the second movie, has also been a part of it the whole time? They're going to bring him back. It makes a lot of sense. He's like the cool college student who's like all about film, and like the Ghostface have been filming this the entire time, right? So what if like Stu talks Randy into being like, dude, this is your opportunity to like join us and like make the greatest movie of all time. This is the greatest movie of all time. Also, we know Randy has like a very interesting relationship with Sidney. Like, they are best friends, but also there's a definite love interest there. And Stu knew that Randy had this like love interest with Sidney, and he never really got a chance. Like, Sidney never really gave him a chance. They were always just friends. So like, what if that has something to do with it, where he's like angry about that? There's just like, I don't know. Can you tell that I'm nerding out right now?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
man.
totally
It's awesome.
nerding out. I'm totally nerding out right now. Okay, so possibly it could be Randy. Now, it could also be Dewey. I think that there's a chance that it could actually be Dewey. And part of the reason of that is like, we have to remember, you go all the way back to the original Scream. We have to remember that Stu's family is very wealthy, right? And in a small town like Woodsboro, like, that wealth has to have some power. And if you go back and watch the first movie, there's a scene where Sidney's in the car and she calls 911 and she says, I'm at Stu Macher's house. He's trying to kill me, right? So if you think about it kind of that way, and the response time from the police actually showing up from that phone call until the end of the movie is just absolutely insane, like how much time it takes. So they could be kind of like calling the parents and being like, yo, your son's in a lot of trouble. Like, you might want to do something here. And, a little bit of cash goes a long way in a small town like Woodsboro, right? So like, they could also be the first people that they know that knows that Randy didn't, or that Stu didn't die, right? And they could be like keeping him in a very cushy kind of prison situation. Well, Dewey's an officer. He's gonna have to know that. So like, Dewey could have known all the way from like Scream 2 that Stu is not alive, or that Stu is not dead. You know what I mean? And he could be like keeping that secret. Like, he could have got. Like, he could have had Stu tell him all types of things, like Gail literally like just throwing Dewey to the wolves all the time. Like, I love you, I don't love you. Like, all of that stuff could have really got to him, and like, he could have turned Dewey. So it could possibly be Dewey. One really, really kind of like, are you okay? I know I'm throwing it.
No. You're good, man. I have other things I want to say, but I'm letting you get through it because I think that's more important.
Yeah. So another one that I had, what if Maureen Prescott didn't die, guys? What if we find out that Maureen Prescott, Sidney's mother, who this whole thing was all about, obviously Billy Loomis said that he killed Sidney's mom, blah, 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 for, breaking up the families and stuff like that. What if he didn't? What if Maureen Prescott has been orchestrating this the entire time? What if she just, because she cheated on her husband, she obviously wanted a little bit of a different life. What if she thought that the only way to get like out of the life that she had was to fake her own death. So she fakes her own death, right? But it turns into this huge thing. She can't get away from it. As long as Sidney and everybody is still alive, they're only going to keep talking about these Woodsboro murders and blah, blah, blah. So she decides, like, everybody's got to go. Like, what if she's been orchestrating this thing the whole time? Or what if Sidney's in the reverse? Like, what if Sidney's dad is one of the main killers? Same thing. Like, he's just so sick of hearing about this. And he gets into these, like, you know, I'm so sick of hearing about my wife who cheated on me. And then this, like, whole, like, you know, he tries to get her murdered, obviously, because he figures out that she cheated on him. And then it all kind of goes south, and, like, Billy goes rogue and all of this stuff. And he's, like, looking at Sidney, like, I can't even look at you. You remind me of her. Like, they could go that route too. Like, there's so many different things that I think they could do. But I do really think at the end of this movie, we're going to see a legacy character or someone very, very important to the story, like Maureen Prescott, lift off the Ghostface mask. And it's going to give us that.
Okay, out of all of those.
Hot damn. Everybody's a suspect.
Everybody's a suspect. We're playing Clue. Okay, out of all of those, which one would you be the most satisfied or most like, I saw that coming? Like, which one do you think you'd be least shocked about?
The least shocked about? Gail.
Gail, okay.
Gail would be the one that I would be the least shocked about.
Okay, what about most shocked?
The most shocked? That's tough. The most shocked, I think, would be Dewey.
Okay.
The most shocked, I think, would be Sidney. Actually, your theory. But it's still a possibility.
I don't know if it is though.
It would be very interesting. I would be very disappointed if they went that route. But I mean, it's still a possibility. But I think Dewey. I think Dewey would probably be the most shocking for me. Just because in the sense of, like, he has really always had this kind of, like, big brother kind of feel with Sidney, and, like, I don't know, he turned into such a fan favorite for being kind of like a lovable kind of goofball, you know what I mean? So, like, if they made him be the killer, and it would be really funny, like we were talking about this, it would be like the hugest slap in the face, honestly, to like Scream viewers, because people assumed that it was Dewey for the longest time. But they just never kind of ended up happening. So if they did it now, it might be a little bit of a slap in the face. But yeah, I mean, it's still a possibility. It is still definitely a possibility.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, smell my finger.
That's like the
I know, I'm just kidding.
doofus from Scary Movie.
Yep, I'm just kidding.
Yes. So I mean, there's so many. There's, like, literally so many things that they could do.
That's cool.
But I have to bet my bottom dollar that they're doing a legacy character or someone very, very crucial to the plot line. This isn't going to be like Scream, you know. It's not going to be it's not going to be Amber. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not going to be just like a random friend. Like,
otherwise, it's not. Yeah. It's gonna not flop. It's going to put a very bad taste in everybody's mouth for, like, how they do with, like, Dexter, the TV show, where they. I don't know if I'm gonna spoil that. They did it in other shows and other movies, and they don't want it to happen to Scream. Which, to be honest, based off of all your description, is kind of how you're describing all, like, the depth of each character. I didn't realize how, like, deep Scream goes. I thought it was just like a scary movie that, like, has jump scares, people die, it's over. I didn't realize that it's had all this, like, true depth and, like, character evolvement and things of that nature. So that's really cool to me. It's got me, my light bulbs turning on a little bit, like, maybe this is a series I need to watch, because I always thought it was just another scary movie. And kind of like, for, like, Freddy Krueger, like Friday the 13th, those seem like they're just scary movies to be scary movies.
Friday the 13th, I mean, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, they have their leading ladies. I mean, of course, Nightmare's got Nancy. But, like, yeah, I see what you mean. There's a lot in scary movies, specifically kind of the older genre of scary movies, where it's just, there's a storyline, there's a leading lady, there's an end girl. Like, it's just they have all the pieces of the puzzle. But this really is like a very intricate story with very intricate personalities and characters that like have developed throughout the course of multiple movies. I don't think it gets enough credit for that.
For sure. It's
Yeah.
not a scary movie just to be scary.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's why like I've kind of strayed away from like horror and things like that, because I hate when movies are trying to be so scary, it loses the plot. Like I don't like jump scare movies, not because I think they're scary. Like, to be honest, I don't jump scare in movies too often, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I think that's partially, most of the time, it's coming, if that makes sense. Like, either the music gets really quiet and everybody's walking slow, and then boom, it's going to happen. Like, so I don't jump too bad with those. But that's why I kind of like move away from scary movies. And I think it's because I've had this impression that most scary movies are scary, or they're trying to be scary and not focus on the plot line. But for what this is and what you've described makes it seem more up my speed of, it's almost like more horror thriller, not so much horror jump scare.
Yeah. Thriller, drama. Yeah, more of that category. I know, and it's not like gory to be gory. It's not scary to be scary. I mean, there is an actual real plot and a real storyline with developing characters, and I just really love the franchise, man. It's really, really good. And I think if you guys have never seen any of the movies, give the OG Scream 1, just start there, give it a chance. And if you don't love it after one, you gave it a shot.
Based off you saying that, does it start slow? Like a Scream 1,
Nope.
like would it be hard to, okay. So if it's going to capture you, it's going to capture you at 1. It's going to hold you till Scream 7.
Yeah. If you within the first 15 minutes of Scream what you're getting into. Yeah. So, and if you love 1, you'll continue on. If you don't love 1, you can go ahead and call it, I would think. But yeah, I would say if you have not seen 1, definitely give it a shot. It's more than a horror movie.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Added to my list, Dave.
Scream 7 comes out on February 27th. I will 100% be going to see it. And yeah, like I said, I do think this is the end of the franchise. Stu Macher will be back, I do believe. I mean, it has been confirmed, so I don't think there's any kind of questions there. I think the real question is, what's the twist going to be? And I think it's going to be a legacy character or someone very, very important to the plot that will be taken off the mask.
Okay, last question.
What you got?
Do you want it to end here?
That's a very good question.
So kind of rephrase it. Do you want this to end, or what would they need to do to make you happy that it could keep going?
I think at this point in the franchise, I need to know that this is the end or the end is in sight.
Okay, that's
So,
fair.
like I said, I think they did a great job maintaining their shelf life and their relevancy and providing great experiences to moviegoers and fans of the series. Like I said, I don't want Jason in space. I do not want them to drag this out into 10 movies, and by the time we get to the 10th movie, it's so just off the rails that like they've kind of, it's the Game of Thrones effect, right?
Yeah.
Everything's great up until a certain point, and then it all falls apart. But that's all that everybody remembers, is it all fell apart. They don't remember 7 seasons of it being a phenomenal TV show,
Yeah.
right? So like, I think right now I do want to know that this is the end or the end is in sight. So I would say the shelf life is like, this should be the end, or you got like one more movie to wrap it up.
Did 6 set it up like that? Pretty close?
I think 6 really kind of like tied everything together in the sense of like, now it really does make sense to bring Stu back, because at the end of 6, like what we really see is this idea of the shrine. So the Ghostface shrine is really what kind of like symbolized this idea, where you have all of the all of the outfits are there, like all of like the clothes that people wore when they got killed were there, like this idea that somebody has been doing something to curate and like to make a record of everything that's been happening and kind of been running some things behind the shadows. Like now 6 did a great job at setting it up for Stu to return. So now I think they need to bring Stu back, which they are doing. And I just think if you're going to bring back the killer from the original movie, this should be the end. Like it should start and end with Stu.